Camilo. As Camilo said, my name is Joe Moses. I'm from Google Pittsburgh in the United States. I'm really excited that you're having me to speak to you. I'm going to talk a little bit about e-commerce trends that we've seen recently. We're going to talk about Google Shopping, how Google Shopping ads differ from traditional text ads. We're going to talk a little bit about feed management in Google Merchant Center and some new features and tools that make it a little easier for you merchants and retailers, agencies to provide us the products. And then finally, I'm going to kick it over to my colleague, and we're going to talk about how to tie it all together once you have your products uploaded to get a shopping campaign created. If you have any questions at any time, please go ahead and raise your hand. I don't speak any Spanish, or not very good, so feel free to ask a question in Spanish, and one of my colleagues will translate for me. So before we begin, by a show of hands, how many people here have purchased something online in the last couple weeks? Okay, great. So keep those hands up if you used a mobile to either purchase altogether or start your journey on purchasing. Great. So we see that trend everywhere, and I think these next few slides won't come very much as a surprise to you. So if we look at global e-commerce trends, the last 4 years, 2012 to 2016, it's more than doubled. If we project to the next 4 years, we again see that more than doubling. And I think this is for a variety of reasons, but I asked you about mobile. I think this is a big key here. If we think about the way we've shopped online in the past, it's great, but it really required you to maybe sit down at your home at night on your laptop or your iPad and shop there. But since we've advanced our ad formats, people want to be connected to you as retailers anytime, anywhere, when they're on the run. So that's where mobile plays a key part. If we take a step more specifically on the Colombian market, we see the trend continue here. So if we look from 2013 to 2016, the percentage of Colombians who purchased something in the last 12 months, we actually see that rise 24% in just 3 years. So we've seen this globally. We've definitely seen this in the States, and now we're actually seeing that in the Colombian market. And we think this trend's going to continue now that we've brought Google Shopping here. So if we take a look specifically at how e-commerce is growing compared to retail sales, it's actually very exciting. So we see that e-commerce in Colombia is growing at more than 3 times the rate of total sales of retail. Again, not only is this global, it's now here in Colombia, and it's a really exciting time for you as retailers and for you as agencies representing retailers. I mentioned how big e-commerce is in the United States and has been. So this is also a very exciting stat. E-commerce in Colombia is now growing at a faster rate than that of the United States. Finally, with as much excitement as there is and as much as we see e-commerce growing here, there still is great opportunity. If we look at the percentage of total of e-commerce sales compared to retail sales, it's 1.6%, while in the US, it's 8.2%. So I think there's clear opportunity to even it out a little more, and I think new products such as Google Shopping will help do that. So if we think of the consumer and when they have shopping or commercial intent, we think we've segmented out into 3 specific opportunities, and we call these micro moments, and they really represent the shopping journey. So it could be very general when you just need some ideas or moments of inspiration. So this was me. This is me often, and most specifically, this was me just a month ago. So I have a 1-year-old niece whose birthday was coming up, and I needed some ideas to get her a good gift. So that's what my search was: gifts for a 1-year-old baby girl. You could know perhaps what type of product you want, but you want to do research first. You want to see what product is best. We call this the research moment, and I'll show you some extensions that we have in our ad format that help the user make this choice along their shopping journey. And finally, let's think about the lower funnel, right? There's consumers who they know what they want, and they just want to buy it, right? So they're either looking you online and want to see what price, and they'll go to your store. They'll purchase it right there and then online. Or we see actually more happening, people buy it right in your store. Maybe they want a different size or color. This video is going to show you a little bit how we see these moments in real time. So that's really a great spot, and I think it really hits on that last slide I presented. The key point here is consumers, when they have shopping intent, they want to be connected to retailers any time of the day, across any device or any medium. So we really think we've built a really great ad format for that, to really connect the shopper from their journey to you as retailers. One of the key reasons why we think that, and we don't just say this because we're Google, but we're really proud of this number. So the reason we feel that Google Shopping is such a great ad format, why it reaches so many audience, is because of this number. So we now have 7 unique properties, each with over 1 billion users. This is across Chrome, Android, Gmail, all the way to YouTube and even Play Store. So this is, again, we have a platform that we know connects to multiple billions of users. So it's really great for you as retailers to connect consumers to your site. So let's now take a look at Google Shopping ads and specifically how they compare to traditional text ads. So when we think of traditional text ads, of course, they're great. They can describe your product or service. But if we actually think about a perfect ad format for you as a retailer whose goal is to drive e-commerce sales, right? We really think that we've built this ad format specifically for you. If you look at how shopping ads are generated, right? Instead of just text, you have a nice image showing the product of what you're selling. You have the title describing that product. You have the price, which is obviously a key decision factor. And then you even feature your store here. So if we think about users who have shopping intent and we're now generating this great ad, if we know the query is shopping intent, and if they click your product, they saw your image, they saw your store name, they saw your price. So we really think we're driving really, really valuable traffic to your websites, and that's why we see very good click-through rates of shopping ads. Taking a look specifically how shopping ads compare to traditional text ads. So over there, of course, you have traditional text ads, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Now that we've launched Google Shopping, we see a query such as this. iPhone case is a query that's shopping intent. So that's where we generate the ads which match that query. So you see the great images, the price, the store name. it's really important for you as retailers to understand that not only is this a great ad format, but we think it's even easier for you to set up campaigns. So if you think about text campaigns, right, it's text and keywords based and really involved creating specific ads with specific text, right? Shopping ads are generated from the feed. The content that you're providing Google in the feed will automatically show up in the ad format. So it's really easy. I'll talk about this in a little bit. All you have to do is send Google your inventory, and then, as my colleague's going to describe, easily set up a shopping campaign by deciding on which product groups that you want to bid accordingly. And Google is really good at judging intent. So depending on the query, we'll just show the right product. So I don't want to sit here and tell you, and I don't want you to think that you should shift all your budget from traditional text to shopping ads. It's definitely not what we're saying. And in fact, we found that shopping ads work best when done in unison with text ads. So we did a study recently, and we found that a consumer that is exposed to both ad types, shopping ads and text ads, compared to a user that's only exposed to text ads, we see a much likelihood to visit your website, over 90% likelihood, to visit your product page, to add to cart, most importantly, make a purchase, right? But there's also other benefits. So I know Camilo talked about driving traffic to your store, but we also see that 20% more likely to click the store locator. So I'll talk about this a little more in detail, but it's really easy for you to set up shopping campaigns, right? So the biggest key, and perhaps the biggest hurdle for you, is uploading your product data, and that's why we have the tools in Google Merchant Center. Essentially, we ask that you give us your product data in Google Merchant Center. You adhere to the product requirements. The higher quality data, the better. We'll talk about this in a little more detail, but providing high quality images leads to a higher click-through rate, right? If you think about yourself as a consumer and you sort of see two similar products, one has a very blurry picture, probably more likely to click on the high resolution photo. Providing us unique identifiers, so global trade identification numbers, or EANs, which I think they're referred to here, really helps match your products to the shopping query. You want to make sure that you bid enough to show up on mobile, so we've talked about the importance of mobile. So we'll talk about campaigns and how you can make sure you're bidding enough for mobile. And then we've also made it really easy for you retailers that ship to other markets or other countries. We made it easier than ever to sort of export your products and display them in multiple countries at once. So this is a really, really key point. So we found those retailers that have had the most success, they do a good job of not only making sure their website has the same amount of products which they offer in store, but they're also making sure to upload their full product inventory to Google, right? So if you're only sending us a fraction of your products, of course, you're just very, very much limiting your opportunity. You have a lot of great products that you're not even giving users a chance to connect to you. One thing to keep in mind, right? We'll only generate the right products depending on the user query, and you only pay when a user clicks, right? Let's think about this, of how partial inventory could lead to missed opportunity, right? So I don't know about you all, but a lot of times when I'm out with family and I'm in a rush, perhaps we'll stop through a store, but I really don't feel like shopping. I don't feel like going in the dressing room and trying something on. But if I see a product I like, it's very common for me to just take a picture of the product, maybe take a picture of the tag, and then later want to go look that up on your websites. If you don't offer the same inventory in store as your website, you can see how that's a bad experience for a consumer. Let's think about it on the opposite side of things. So perhaps a customer knows of your store, but they want to look your store up on the website before they head in. If you're not displaying all of your products on your website, you might not sort of gain their attention. They might not see something they would otherwise have seen in your store, and they might never make that trip to your store. So that's why, again, I really stress that please send us your full inventory, and we really think it'll perform well. So this is a great online case study. So Kaufman is an online Danish fashion retailer, right? And they were previously just participating in text ads. So they were working with their ad agency, and they wanted to get started on this new shopping format. So their main goals was obviously just reaching new customers, just generating more traffic to their website. They thought they can convert from there. And then, of course, they wanted to drive online sales. So again, they worked with their agency. They sent all of their product data to Google Merchant Center, set up some simple shopping campaigns, and compared to their previous text campaigns, you can see the results there. So a 71% increase in conversions, a huge increase in click-through rates, and then finally, a very sizable increase in online revenue. This is another very interesting case study. It's paper culture, and instead of me talking about it, we have a video to show you for them to talk about their experience.
When I was a kid, I actually started a stationery business. I stenciled out. When I was a kid, I actually started. It was called Multicountry. I stenciled out all of the picture of a monkey holding a banana. To write was this picture of a monkey.
I'm Chris Wu. I'm the CEO and co-founder.
Sorry about that. Let's try this again.
When I was a kid, I actually started a stationery business. I stenciled out all of these greeting cards. It was called Banana cards, and it was this picture of a monkey holding a banana, and I used to write Woo in the middle. That was my logo.
I'm Chris Wu. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Paper Culture.
So when we started Paper Culture, we set out to build a company that was a reflection of how we dreamed of the world we knew. We provide environmentally friendly stationery with modern design. We do that by using only 100% recycled paper. And then we plant a tree with every order. And we've planted over 300,000 trees to date. I think one of the toughest challenges for us as a small business is that we don't have the brand of some of our larger competitors. The biggest challenge is finding the new customers. Google Shopping gives us the ability to present our products on Google Search in a visual way, right next to our much bigger competitors. When people see a design that they've fallen in love with and they click on that, then their likelihood to purchase from us is so much higher because they've already said, hey, I love that design. And a small business can compete with any business based on design instead of based on brand. That's why we love Google Shopping. It's a huge way that we acquire new customers in our business. At the end of the day, Paper Culture is successful when our customers find incredible joy not just with the products that they receive, but when they start understanding, believing, and sharing the mission. And I think that's the joy of what we do.
So that's a great ad spot, and I think the key point there is Google Shopping really evens the playing field, right? You don't have to be the largest retailer with the biggest budgets and the biggest brand recognition, right? It's about selling your unique products and understanding how, even regardless of a huge budget, if someone's looking for something that you sell and they see your product on there, they'll click. There's also another key point there that I want to hit on, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, but there's other ways for you to differentiate yourself from other retailers. So I think you might have seen in the video spot, their shopping reviews or their Google customer reviews, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Before I do, what's next for Google Shopping? So we've actually launched this in 2012, and we've greatly expanded it since. So to date, we actually have over 150,000 merchants actively advertising with us. We're now launched on 37 countries, and we now have over 500 million products listed. We intend to increase this number even more, so we're going to launch to more countries and languages next year. What are ways you as retailers can show your ads in other countries? So I'll be honest, I'm not sure how much this applies to you, but if you're a retailer that ships to additional markets or additional countries, we've made it really, really easy to do that now using tools in Google Merchant Center. So we now have this thing called multi-country feeds, right? So in the past, if you ship the same products to two different countries, we actually required you to upload and manage 2 separate feeds in Google Merchant Center, supply 2 different currencies, and it was really more of a hassle. Now, you can take your base feed, give us a base currency, and with a click of a button, you can select an additional country you want to advertise in. If that country is across a different currency, then we'll automatically initiate currency conversion on the back end. Secondly, we're now launching multilingual campaigns. So those countries that are multilingual, we now accept English as a second language for 27 out of the 37 countries we're launched in. I hit on this a little bit ago. So how do you stand out from other retailers? So of course, price is important when we're shopping as a consumer, right? But oftentimes, I know myself, if price is similar between the same product between different retailers, what sets retailers apart? Understanding the quality of that merchant or customer experience. Like we all love reviews on the store and on the product we're going to buy. So down below, you see Google Seller Ratings, which has launched. So this is a really exciting product. It's powered by Google Customer Reviews. So for those of you who aren't familiar, and if you want to get started on this, there's a 3-dot menu on the very top right of your Google Merchant Center account. Click that, click Merchant Center Programs, and you can sign up for Seller Ratings. Product Ratings hasn't launched yet, but I really hope and I expect that it will launch by end of the year, hopefully. Product Ratings is a great way to just give the merchant. We talked about, taking a step back, we talked about that second moment, right, doing research. We think that will really help in their shopping journey. Taking a look at how this would look like. So on the left, if you have Seller Ratings implemented on your website, Google will automatically send a post-sale survey. They'll fill it out, and this will sort of go into your seller rating. So there you can sort of see it on the ad format at the top. And the other benefit of this is not only do they see it before they click on your ad, but you could actually just show this badge on your website. So even if a person connected to your website directly, you have a high rating, like we want you to be proud of that and show that on your website. So we really think that the ad format is great, not only to connect shoppers to you as retailers, but we really think it's going to be a single place for shoppers to explore offers. So some interesting tidbits. So 40% of shopping queries show very broad intent. So they might know the category of what they want, but they don't know the exact product. So we have some features to really expand this ad format in the future. We hope it'll launch soon, but soon you'll be able to filter on brand, product type. And if you have multiple products that's generated off the query, they'll even be able to filter just on your store. This second image, so 87% of shoppers who research images for apparel and footwear use image search. So this is another exciting thing. I know a lot of times I'll take a picture of something and want to know what it is, and that's what this feature, upcoming feature is going to be. And then finally, I'll talk about this shortly, but shopping ads sort of integrate with other ad formats very nicely. So YouTube in particular is the #1 video site for influencing purchasing decisions, and we'll see how you can sort of tie those together. So we really think, so I think we can all agree that, right, e-commerce is on the rise. I think people in Colombia, even here on this market, want to do more and more shopping online. So we really view this as a partnership. Of course, we feel like we've built a great ad format specifically for you as retailers. We don't think it's possible to have Google Shopping, of course, without you retailers. So we want to hear from you, right? We don't just want to shove a product down your throats. We want to help you. If you're having problems uploading your products to Google Merchant Center, let us know. Let me know how I can help. If you need help sort of configuring your campaigns, reach out to your Google rep or send feedback if something doesn't make sense. Trust me, I read the feedback that you submit. So let's talk about, if you want to get started on Google Shopping, what are some quick and easy steps to get that done? So we've broken it down into very simple 3 steps. Of course, you want to set up your Google Merchant Center account if you haven't done so already. This literally just takes a minute. The most important part here is once you have a Google Merchant Center account is uploading your products to us. I'll talk a little bit of the variety of options we give you to upload product data. And then finally, once your products are listed in Google Merchant Center, that doesn't mean they'll automatically start showing. So you want to go into your AdWords account, create a shopping campaign, and get going. So your products that are listed are viable to be shown to users. Creating your account, really easy. I create test accounts all the time. It literally takes minutes. From there, verifying your website URL is a key step. We've made this a lot easier in recent years to sort of automatically implement the correct tags necessary on your website. And then finally, creating and uploading your product feed. So what is a products feed, right? So think of this as a big spreadsheet with as many rows as you have products, right? So it has certain column headers which align to what shows in the ad format. So I'm not going to bore you with this. If you're interested in knowing all the required attributes, just Google Shopping product specifications. There's certain attributes that are required for all items, such as a title, a description, a price, a URL, and an image. There's some attributes that are just required depending on the category. So if you're selling an apparel item, we're going to require the color and size. We're not deprecating schema.org. So schema.org still works with automatic item updates. And then I'll actually talk about a very upcoming pilot where if you're having trouble actually generating a products feed altogether and you have good schema.org, we might be able to help you automatically create a feed. Cool. So what are the way you guys as retailers or agencies can upload products feed to us? So we give a variety of mediums, and it ranges from beginner to technical, depending on the size of your catalog. One choice might be better than the other, right? So we have Google spreadsheets, right? So you can actually generate a blank Google spreadsheet. This is really great if you're a retailer that has a very small amount of products. So you could actually go in and just add the products there and then. And we actually have an easy-to-use add-on for Google Spreadsheets where it'll actually give you the formats and all of the required attributes necessary for Google Merchant Center, and it will break it down on a category-by-category basis. So it really makes it easy to adhere to our feed spec. Text files, this is very popular. Of course, it can be retailers from small to large amounts of data. From beginning to advanced users use this. So the good news here is you still only need basic knowledge of creating and editing spreadsheets. So you can use any spreadsheet editor, such as Google Sheets or Excel, and then simply export that as a text tab delimited file. So XML files are generally more reserved for retailers that have specific DMS or databases that export and generate exportable XML files. We sort of accept a couple different XML schemas. This is a little more advanced and requires XML coding knowledge if you want to manipulate that. And then finally, API is great for those retailers that have huge amounts of data, but those retailers or agencies that have the technical savvy, API is a great option because it allows you to upload your products very quickly, and it allows you to do things specific to pricing and availability updates programmatically. I mentioned this in the previous slide. Like if you're just getting started and you don't have many products, if you really just want to see all of the required attributes, please research the Google Merchant Center Merchant Sheets add-on. It really shows you all of the different attributes, which ones are required, which ones are optional, and which ones are required for certain attributes, or certain product categories, excuse me. So what's a product feed look like? I sort of mentioned this many times, but you can sort of see we have a base requirement of giving us a unique identifier. So that's your ID, which often maps to your store SKUs. And then you have your title, description, link, and price, and image link. These are things that are always sort of shown in the ad format. And then you have some things that are not necessarily shown, but they're very important, right? So I talked about GTINs, right? Unique product identifiers. If a product from the manufacturer was assigned a GTIN, more than likely we're going to require it, right? So this really helps match the product to the Google catalog and ensures we're serving your right products to the right queries. So if we want to take a look at how we go from the feed to the ad format. So like I said, the ads are really generated from the data in your feed. So if whatever your title and description is in your products feed, that's what we're going to show. Whatever specific image URL you're sending us, that's what we're going to show. So it's really important to source high-quality data, high-quality images, work with your image providers to do that. Why do we require all these attributes? It's really for great user experience and to really ensure that we're connecting your products to user queries. So I'll talk a little bit about this. It's not about just giving us everything that's required, but optimizing that data. So don't just send us very bare titles which don't describe the product right. If you have very broad, non-specific titles, you're less likely to generate on a user query. So I'll show you some tips of how you can improve that. If you work with any of these e-commerce platforms, Magento, VTEX, and Shopify, they all have... Yeah.
PrestaShop también tiene el módulo PrestaShop Plus.
Yeah, PrestaShop as well. Yeah. Yeah, not just limited to these, but there's a few more additional e-commerce platforms. If you work directly with them, they have some very tight integration with Google Shopping. So directly from that platform, you should be able to automatically create a feed, and that will sort of insert into Google Merchant Center. From there, once you have the products uploaded and they meet the specifications, then it's just about creating your AdWords campaign, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Here's some key policy things to keep in mind, and it's important to understand. We do this for best customer, best user experience. So you want to make sure your site is accessible globally. We don't like any IP detection, so don't pre-select the currency and language based off IP. Some merchants have struggles with this initially, but they're able to actually include some URL parameters that disable that in their shopping ads URLs. Each item's landing page must point to a single product, right? It's not a good experience if I see an ad with a specific product, a specific price, and then I'm taken to a more category-specific landing page, right? I want to go exactly to that product. We don't like to see promotional text contained within a product's title and description. So I've gotten some questions on how can you promote things like free shipping or possibly percentage off. We have a great new product coming soon called Retail Promotions that you can take advantage of. And finally, if you see any errors in your Merchant Center account related to we're not able to crawl your products or images because of robots.txt, this is probably why. You want to make sure your robots.txt file is able to be seen by the Google crawlers. So we actually have a tool called Google Fetch, which you can access directly from your account, and you'll be able to test your product URLs and your image URLs. How do you avoid suspensions, right? No one likes their account to be suspended, but of course we have adhere to policies just for great user experience, right? So take a look at our disallowed products policy page. It does differ from region to region, but generally speaking, we want to avoid any drugs or pharmaceuticals, dangerous goods, and again, it differs from region to region. So landing page policies are very, very important. So not only do you not want to show like pop-ups when someone goes to your site, but we don't want to require the user to log in, right? Again, it's all about giving them quick access to purchase that product. So if they click an ad, we don't want them to have to log into your site. And finally, and this is probably the most important point, correct pricing and availability. Not only will we check against this periodically to make sure you don't abuse this, but it's really for best user experience. So if we think about it, if I'm clicking on an ad with a certain price and then I go to your landing page and it happens to be a higher price, I'm probably not going to buy it. Like, it's a very upsetting experience as a consumer. Images, right? So this is really, really important, and I encourage you to take a look at the resolution of the images you're providing. If you're sourcing your images from a provider, work with them to give us the highest resolution possible. Resolution is not just important, but we like to see clean images with light, preferably white backgrounds, and we don't like to see any spammy text overlays or even any watermarks. Tip number 3, check the diagnostics page. So this is really, really important. This is really your source of truth to understand how many products that uploaded successfully and how many are eligible to be seen in Google Shopping. So you'll see this graph at the top. It's really a 30-day graph, and you can actually go back at points in time so you can see how your catalog changed. We give you these stats at the bottom so you can see what percentage of the products you've tried to upload it are actually active. And for those that aren't active, we give you this big table down below. You can see the exact errors and the reason why that product might not be able to be, why that product's disapproved. A single product could have multiple issues. So again, you can download a whole export of that to see all of the different item level issues. And we give you great learn more links to understand why that product was disapproved. So let's go into some advanced tips, and included in this are some new features that I think you'll be really excited about. So supplemental feeds. This is a feature we actually just worked to launch within the last couple months. So at Google Shopping, we understand that some of you work with an IT team, and it's hard for you to make changes with that IT team. Some of you work with agencies, right? We understand it can often be difficult to adhere to the product specs, so we want to make it easier for you to just give us your product data and use tools within Merchant Center to sort of connect them. So supplemental feeds is sort of a secondary feed that you can use. You use it to augment existing products that you've already uploaded in your primary feed. So it works via a left join. So any supplemental feed will simply have a list of IDs that match your products, your main products feed, and then you can choose to add any additional column, and you could either overwrite columns that are already existing, or you can use it to supplement data that's you weren't able to provide in your primary feed. So a couple key points on this. Has anyone heard about custom labels or used custom labels? No? Okay. My colleague will talk about that in a little bit and how you can use custom labels to segment your product data for campaigns, but we've seen that a lot of times it's the marketing team that wants to manage the custom labels, and they don't want to go to the IT team or the agency to build those into the primary feed. So they started using supplemental feeds. They'll give us a list of IDs with the custom label values, and they'll automatically join into your product data. Adding missing GTINs. A lot of customers are only able to source GTINs in a separate database or a separate file, so that's another way to join in data. Feed rules. Has anyone heard of feed rules in Merchant Center? No? Okay, so again, this is another great new feature, and the goal here is to make it easier using rules that you can create in Merchant Center to not only optimize your data, but fill in the blanks. You could actually create rules that actually populate attributes that you weren't able to provide in your feed. So I'll give you a few great examples of that. So I talked about our feed spec and how we have certain column headers that we require, right? So for availability, we require that column to be called availability. You might have that data in your products feed, but it's called stock status or something different, right? In the past, we would require you to actually call it availability, or else those products wouldn't be approved. Now you could actually create a rule that says, for availability, actually take from this feed and take from the stock status field. So it just makes it a little bit easier to adhere to our feed specifications. You can actually populate Google attributes with static strings directly in the Merchant Center. So if you're not sending us condition, for example, but you know that you're only selling new products, simply write a rule that sets condition to new across the board, and that rule will automatically apply across your inventory. I talked about joining data from different feeds. Here's a rule for GTIN to do that. So if you're not sourcing GTINs in your primary feed, but you have it via a supplemental, upload that supplemental feed in Merchant Center, and then write a rule to pull from there. And then finally, this last point really talks about data optimization. So I'll talk to you a little bit about how title structure is important. If you're not able to source a very keyword-rich title directly in your feed, you could actually write rules to build your title using other attributes from your feed. So you can see in this example here, I'm actually setting my title so that brand comes first, and then I'm including a space, and then my title that I already have, and then I'm adding color. So these are just a few examples of how you can create rules to fill in the gaps and to optimize your data. And we're really going to expand on this. We're going to allow you to create conditional rules. So we're going to talk about custom labels in a little bit. You could actually create rules to create custom labels automatically. Automatic item updates. So one of you asked about this, right? So this is great feature, especially if you struggle with accurate pricing and availability information in your feed. If you have goodschema.org markup on your website, you can sort of opt into automatic item updates, and we'll ensure we're showing the accurate price, and it'll really reduce the amount of errors that are in your accounts for price and availability discrepancies. improving product content. So I already hit upon high quality images and how it's important to have accurate price, tax, and shipping. But you want to make sure that your titles are unique. It really describes the product. And they shouldn't really be the same for every single product, right? But you can see for a road bike, you can see how it's important not only to have the brand in there. I might want to know whether it's a men's or girls' bike specifically. And I actually want to know the size and color. So think about when you're shopping as a user, what tidbits of information do you want to be known ahead of time? If we think about which attributes are essential to good product data, I would really urge you to focus on sending us good, unique product identifiers. So again, the EAN number or UPC, brand, and manufacturer part number. These are required for certain product categories and certain products. We found that those retailers that send us GTINs have a higher 20% increase in clicks. From there, I would focus on optimizing your existing product content that are really important to the ad, so titles, images, and description. And I'll talk about this a little more in detail. So if we think about having good keyword-rich titles, we found that generally speaking, a good title structure is brand, product, like what's the product and product type of the item, and then those variant attributes which sets that product apart. So color, size, weight, this really differs on category to category. So if we take a look at apparel, of course, we want to see brand, we want to see gender, and then we want to see those variant attributes that are specific to apparel items. So the color of the shirt, the size of the shirt, and even if material is a distinguishing factor. This differs from category to category. So if we look at books, of course, we want to see the title, the type of book, the format, and then the author. So these are really good tips. I'd urge you to try to adhere to these as much as possible. I think you'll see better performance. If you're not able to structure titles directly in your feed, but you have the data available elsewhere, use feed roles. Like I said, feed roles is very, very easy to use, and you can really use it to really structure your title. Let's think about how we can connect shopping ads to different ads formats. So we have two great platforms to do that, which we'll talk about. So TrueView for shopping. Has anyone heard of this? No? Yeah? Great. So this is a really, really, really cool ad format. It allows you to show your product listing ads up to 6 in a carousel directly on your videos. It's really easy to set up, and showing you this next slide shows you why it might be something that's of interest to you. So 64% of shoppers say that YouTube influences their purchase decision. And we actually did a study with Wayfair, and they found a 3 times increase in revenue performance for Wayfair. A lot of us, especially on different categories, we like to look up videos of that product first, or just videos of your brand. Imagine while they're sort of listening to that video and listening to the great things about that product, whether you can just show your product ads directly there. Finally, dynamic remarketing. So I think we're all familiar with how remarketing works. So it allows you to show ads to consumers that have visited your site and are then on another site as part of the Google Display Network. Dynamic remarketing really takes it to the next level. It allows you to surface ads specifically to those customers that actually research the specific product or brand on your site and then services that ad to them on the Google Display Network. We're really excited about this because we see 2 times performance in conversion rate versus static remarketing ads, and then a very big decrease in cost per acquisition. Dynamic remarketing works if you want to get set up. Simply link your Google AdWords account to your Merchant Center account, which I think most of you have done that already. And then you can use the Google Tag Manager to actually pass custom tag parameters on each and every one of your products, and then, of course, Google Analytics tags. From there, you simply just create a dynamic creative, which you can do easily in AdWords. So I want to talk to you about 2 really cool upcoming features. This one's actually launched now. So I don't know if any of you have seen this, but this is called the Opportunities tab in Merchant Center. It's on that left-hand side navigation. It's outside of the products view. So the goal behind this tab is to make it easier for you as agencies or retailers to prioritize which campaign issues or product level issues to fix. And we're basing these cards based off the anticipated increase in performance to do so. So for example, In the diagnostics tab today, we might tell you that 673 products are missing GTIN, but what's the value to you if you fix that issue for those products? We'll now try to surface that. So you can see by fixing your missing GTINs, we estimate that you'll get an additional 22,000 increase in weekly clicks. So again, I'd urge you to start here if you have a lot of issues in your diagnostics tab. This really helps you prioritize which issues to tackle first. And then finally, auto feeds for shopping ads. So I hinted at this a little bit early. This is in a very early pilot or beta. This is really geared to those merchants who haven't been able to yet generate a valid shopping feed. If you fall into that case, and if you have very good schema.org content on your website, it's very possible we think that we'll actually be able to crawl your website and generate a feed on your behalf. As I mentioned, it's a very early pilot. We've actually already pre-selected some clients in this region that qualify based off their schema.org. And if you're one of those merchants, you'll automatically get contacted within the next couple months. Finally, before I kick it over to my colleague to talk about campaign creation, is there any other questions for me in terms of feed management or the tools inside Merchant Center or anything? Do you know, once those URLs are sort of automatically generated, is there a key structure that's consistent? So for example, is it your root domain always followed by a slash and then the SKU number followed by the category? Is there anything consistent about the URL structure? I'm just thinking out loud, it's possible that you could use feed rules to sort of automatically generate your URL. So you can sort of concatenate different strings. So you might be able to write a rule for link that says it's always www.soandso.com /. But maybe see me afterwards. I want to look a little bit more into detail to see how that would work. Any other questions? Great. Thank you very much. If you have any additional questions, my email is jmoses, JMOSES, @google.com. I'd love to hear about you specifically on some of these tools and features.
Slowly, please.
Slowly? Oh, sorry.
Slowly,
JMOSES @google.com. Thank you all.